What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another video. With today's topic being what it is, it's probably a topic you guys don't expect me to talk about, but it is one that I guess I've been sort of playing from the sidelines. Now, I don't want any misconceptions here. I still am a G.I. Joe fan. I love G.I. Joe. But as of recent, G.I. Joe has continuously dropped the ball. Whether it's the vintage line or it's the classifieds line, it seems like they just can't quite get it right. It seems like Hasbro with G.I. Joe, for some reason, has got an idea board, an idea dartboard, let's say, and they're kind of blindly throwing a dart at an idea dartboard, and they're landing on ideas blindly and not having much thought process behind it. Now, I completely and utterly understand that the classifieds line was initially supposed to be directed towards the video game. With the designs, I get it. Totally understand. But there's no reason that the video game had to use the designs that they did, which wasn't very good, and the video game didn't look very good either. The video game is really a $15 to $20 video game disguised as a $40 video game. I think there's maybe half an hour to 45 minutes of even cutscenes. So if you were to take all the cutscenes for the movie and put it into a movie, I think it equals out to about 40 minutes tops. And that's just simply not going to cut it in this day and age. You can't come out with a G.I. Joe video game at a $40 price point when you're getting about $15 to $20 worth of gameplay out of it. It just doesn't work that way. And expect a toy line to succeed and people to get behind it. And I think a lot of it is like G.I. Joe is too late to the game. It's like they want the stylization of that Fortnite look, but that works for Fortnite. It doesn't work for G.I. Joe. And I get art is subjective, and this is subjective, and everything is subjective to a certain degree, where if the masses are telling you, stop doing this, then it doesn't matter if it's subjective or not. Enough people are having the same, voicing the same opinion. It's just so baffling because I feel like I'm continuously saying the same thing about G.I. Joe. Like G.I. Joe peaked in 2010 with Pursuit of Cobra. And ever since then, it's like the wheels have completely fallen off the cart, and the cart is just sliding down a steep slope, and the cart is falling apart piece by piece. And finally, there's only one piece left, and they're just hanging on by a thin thread at this point. They're basically hanging on to the axle of the cart at this point. So you have to excuse me, I'm a little stuffed up. I've got bad allergies. But the point I'm trying to make with all of this is that I've sat by the sidelines and just kind of shut up, kept my mouth shut. What was I did that one review on Duke, and like I said in the review, like there's bright points to the figure. It has the right idea, but the execution just wasn't all there. A lot of people complained about the futuristic stuff and the colors, or they complained about the armor pieces, or they complained about the weaponry. Personally, I understand the weaponry part. I would like my Joes to be a little bit more dumbed down than having futuristic weapons. And get it. Let me get this straight right off the point. Or right off the bat. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. I completely understand that G.I. Joes used to use laser guns in the cartoon. Okay? I'm not a noob with G.I. Joe. I understand. Okay? But for G.I. Joe, for me, personally, this is my personal opinion, and I think most people would agree with me here, is that G.I. Joe should be a little bit more dumbed down when it comes to weaponry and not as futuristic. You know, with Cobra, you can go all full bore with the futuristic stuff. You can go all day with that because it works for their aesthetic. If you were to give Duke's gun or Roadblock's whatever mini gun, breacher gun, whatever it's supposed to be, to any Cobra villain, I don't think people would complain as long as it fit the design. Like if Roadblock's gun went to a Cobra Adder, I don't think people would care that much. Or Duke's gun went to a Viper, I don't think people would care. Or even a Cobra Trooper, I don't think people would care as much. Because Cobra's always had that little bit more futuristic tech to G.I. Joe's normalcy. And that's what makes G.I. Joe intriguing, is that they're constantly fighting an uphill battle. The numbers are not in their favor. Their weaponry isn't in their favor. But they make do on their skills. And that's the point that I think a lot of people are missing. That's kind of always been G.I. Joe's thing. They rise above via their skills because they are the best at what they do in their field. So with design-wise, there's some that I don't have issues with, and there's some that I do have issues with. Duke, for the most part, I want to say with the new redeco that they showed, looks pretty solid. Some people are complaining about bandoliers. I mean, that's kind of Duke's MO. You know, he's always had a bandolier since his inception as a character. So, therefore, it does make sense. But what would make more sense would be the option of giving them tactical vests. I mean, you're just putting an option out there for them to give them a more modern Pursuit of Cobra update. And what was it? I saw a long time ago a interview with Bobby Valla, and he was actually, when he was working at Hasbro, he was actually designing a 6-inch line for G.I. Joe and wanted it to be more like Pursuit of Cobra. And I think that's what people really were expecting, was a 6-inch Pursuit of Cobra, esque G.I. Joe figures. And when we didn't get that, I think people were turned off by the shiny golds and the futuristic weapons that are based off of Nerf guns, apparently, and certain other things. Some are nitpicks, like Gung Ho having like a quasi mohawk. He almost looks like the Iceman from MMA, but that's a personal thing, I think, with some people that I've seen. They're like, oh, I don't like the mohawk, it looks stupid. And I'm like, it's covered up by the hat anyway, so what difference does it make? But the problem is that hat barely fits on his head. With some of the other figures I've seen, with like maybe Flint and Beachhead, it seems like the hats fit a little bit better. So maybe it's just the largeness of Gung Ho's head. But for the most part, Gung Ho, I don't have an issue with his update or his look. I don't even mind the mohawk. I think it gives a little bit differentiation. And trust me, I'm a bald man, all right? we love our bald man characters. All right. There's not many bald man characters. And when we get them, like Roadblock and Gung Ho, and Dr. Mindbender, and even, there's other characters like, what was it? One of my favorite characters, which actually ends up being, what is he? Guillotine. He's another bald guy. I'd love to see him. Maybe I would consider picking him up if they go that deep, but who knows if they're going to go that deep with this line. I think if design-wise, I can't see them going too deep with this line. I can't see this line personally continuing the path that it's going down, especially, and I'm not even talking about the distribution problems, and we all know those problems. And trust me, I'm not here to beat a dead horse. I'm just here to kind of voice my opinion on a toy line that I guess I don't show that much interest in, but maybe this outside perspective, this sideliner perspective can help people put things in perspective. I think certain things that Bobby Valla had ideas with were good, and they should have went with that. I don't think maybe they should probably not have gotten rid of him after hearing the passion that he has. But some other things that I'll see, like even with the Valaverse figures, the Action Force figures, which are pretty cool, and I do have a few on pre-order, especially that Sergeant Slaughter, because I love me some Sarge. Sorry, my nose is so stuffed up and I can't breathe through it. But anyway, I'll see similar designs that I had seen in Retaliation with the designs that are within some of his figures, and I'll sit back and I'll look at it and I'll be like, I know where you got those ankle joints. I've seen that design. It's the mouse design from Retaliation. And that's fine. I mean, if that's the design that he likes, because he is a designer, go with it if it works for you. But I just, it doesn't go unnoticed, I think. I think the Action Force line is a little bit more towards the actual real adult collector. Or actually I should just say the more geared towards what people actually want, as opposed to what the classified line is giving you. And the classified line is frustrating because I have friends that collect the line and they're frustrated because they'll get the figure itself and it looks great. And then they'll look at the accessories, or they'll look at loose joints, and they'll look at how hard it is to get. And most collectors that I'm seeing of the classifieds line, they won't even take their figures out of the package. I want to say the majority of people that I've seen, at least, especially on Facebook groups, they don't take the figures out of the package. They'll show their collection and everything's in the package. And I'm like, you guys are kind of missing the point. And I get, like, you can collect any way you want, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to make a point to make an opinion about it. Like the whole point is, and I don't know whether it's because the figures are harder to get, especially the Cobra Island ones, but they just refuse to take them out of the package. And a lot of people are selling off their collections, or they're getting out of the line because it's so hard to get, and you're not getting a whole lot of waves. And it's got to be frustrating. And I'm sure it's frustrating for Hasbro with the whole pandemic thing, but that pandemic excuse only goes so far. I feel like it really does. I feel like if you look at any other division within Hasbro, there were no other issues with the Black Series, with Marvel Legends, with a lot of things. a lot of figures were getting pumped out last year. Tons of waves got pushed out, and we're ready to go. And you've got little old G.I. Joe sitting there saying, hey, don't forget about us. It's like they're trying to be the little engine that could, but they're the little engine that never could. That's the more accurate description of G.I. Joe right now. It's like they didn't have a plan as to what the vintage line was supposed to be. And now I have not seen any vintage figures besides that re-released, what was it, vehicle sets that they put out with the Hiss tank and such. It doesn't really seem like they have a plan. And I think maybe part of those plans were the Snake Eyes movie. Maybe, we'll push out a bunch of figures with the Snake Eyes movie, and or retailers are asking for less space on the shelf to warrant the figures being in that space. So if they're only asking for 6 inches of space, then now because the movie got pushed back, then that's the only space that they have, which is kind of cockamamie as far as a excuse goes, but it does happen. I understand that. The other thing is you don't have to make Target an exclusive, and I understand how exclusives work. I understand that the retailer, to hold your items, sometimes they will ask for exclusive figures so you can even put them on the shelf in the store. You'll get your regular figure waves, but to sell them on something, they usually ask for exclusive figures. That's why there's always going to be Walmart and Target exclusives. They're not going to go anywhere, people. It's just not how that works. Like they, to literally get the figures on the shelf, they have to ask for exclusives to warrant selling those on the shelf and giving the Hasbro the space. So I get how that works logistically and even just space wise. And I'm not making excuses for Hasbro, because it's still, at the end of the day, like, between Hasbro and the retailers, Walmart and Target, you're still not seeing anything on the shelf, period. And Target's not asking for more, and Walmart's not asking for more. So it's the blame game all over again. Who's to blame? Is it Hasbro? Is it Walmart and Target for not asking for more? And I worked at Toys R Us in the past when it was alive, and they would not ask for more stock because that comes from corporate. It comes from the top. When they see something that's gone or not being replenished, or something that's peg warming, they don't replace it. And I still don't understand why. I've even asked managers, I've asked regional managers, and they don't have an answer. They're like, I don't know, it's up to corporate to fill that space, that retailer space. And, people can assume all they want, but I mean, that's all I know. I'm not making any of this up. This is what I know. So I get that whole thing. It's frustrating as shit because people aren't seeing any figures on the shelves. And everyone goes back to the 80s and 90s. Oh, man, back in the 80s and the 90s, everything was on the shelf. Well, this isn't really the 80s or the 90s anymore. Like, this is not then. Like, if it was then, it would be then. But it's not. So bringing up in the 80s and 90s, I think, is a moot point. But I understand the frustration. It's frustrating going into a store and not seeing any toys on a shelf. I know my local Target doesn't ever have anything. I don't even bother going there anymore. And then when you get a Target exclusive, it's very hard to come by. Like, I have to drive all the way into Charlotte, which is more than about a half an hour away, just to find something. So it gets frustrating. It does. Sorry, my dog's acting like a fool. But I guess I just kind of wanted to discuss a little bit about this and talk about, I guess, this line that's been drowning. And it's just a shame because I thought that maybe the new designs would have helped get the designs that I wanted. But I really haven't been too impressed with these figures. I really only have Duke right now. And that was given to me by S. Myers, which is really awesome of him. And sometimes I have fun posing him and stuff, and he's cool looking, and I'm glad to have one of my favorite characters in hand. But some of the other ones that I've seen reviews on, like Zartan looks promising. He looks cool. Don't get me wrong, there's some bright points, but I think most of the bright points are with Cobra. I think people want a more realistic feel for the G.I. Joe. They don't want that futuristic look for the Joes. They want Pursuit of Cobra in 6-inch form. And I would be all about it if it was maybe a little bit more. I'm starting to maybe understand that 3 3/4-inch figures are dead. Like, people, for some reason, just don't want them anymore. I guess they had their run, and it's over. And it's depressing for me because I love all of my 3 3/4-inch Joes. I feel like that vintage line was just a absolute joke and an insult to a lot of 3 3/4-inch collectors because they haven't done anything with it since. And G.I. Joe has pretty much been like slowly vomiting out small chunks of classified figures throughout the whole last year. But I will say this to give maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for the people that are really into the classifieds line. I want to say that there could possibly, if you look at the early stages of a toy line, it's probably the most difficult because trying to get people into a new look or a look in general and then a size in general, it's hard because you've split the community, because most of Joe fans are 3 3/4-inch, and then you're splitting them, and then with these designs that people didn't like, you're then splitting that half of that half. So it's hard to it's hard, I guess, for Hasbro to use their brain, which shouldn't be a hard thing to do, to product test and know what audience you're going after. And for the most part, toys are still geared towards kids, regardless of whether people want to use the excuse that kids aren't into toys. Toys wouldn't exist if they weren't directed towards kids. Like, toys are toys, regardless of how many man-children out there want to say that toys are for adults. Well, it's adult collector. It says adult collector. Yeah, adult collector was just a theme that was invented for adults to feel better about purchasing toys that are meant for children. And I think a lot of that, where that design came from, even in the video game, it was to grab kids that are into Fortnite. It's like a Fortnite-esque game, almost. It doesn't play like Fortnite. It's not a battle royale, but the visuals look sort of Fortnite-ish. The guns, they're based off of Nerf guns. Like, kids love Nerf. Oh, they're like, well, maybe if we make them out of Nerf guns, and kids will realize that and will want to collect the line. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But, toys are still geared towards kids. I think the toy industry can't quite figure out kids. So they use the backup of, it's an adult collector toy. Sure. It's like NECA's excuse. Oh, our figures fall apart and are pieces of shit because we're adult collector oriented. Okay, so adult collector oriented means your figures are shit. Okay, that's what that means apparently. But anyway, I don't want to go into a NECA rant because then I will. That'll just be not good for my psyche. But I don't know. I think there's some things like the designs that I do like are like, I like Gung Ho's design. I do like his design. Some people have issues with it. They're like, oh, I want it to look like the classic look. Listen, when the classic look came out in the 50th anniversary, people bitched about that. Now they give us an updated look that actually looks better. And a better color scheme. And you guys are bitching that you want it to look like the teal. And I'm like, you guys will bitch about that, but then bitch about the weaponry, and then bitch about shin guards. Like, who gives a shit about shin guards? Or knee guards, or knee pads, knee pads. I think people just want Call of Duty in G.I. Joe. Or Pursuit of Cobra for the classifieds. And I'm all about it, because maybe if they did Pursuit of Cobra-esque figures with classifieds, we'd get characters like Shadow Tracker and Guillotine and, you know, a lot of cool, maybe lesser known characters. But I have a feeling with a line like this, it's trying to be the Marvel Legends of for G.I. Joe. Ooh, boy, are we going to see a lot of just repaints and reuses. I mean, if you look at Flint, that's about to come out, and I was actually considering picking him up because I think him and Lady J actually look really good. Lady J's face is a little weird, but I can kind of I kind of would like to see it like in person. I haven't seen a review yet, but it seems like we're just going to keep getting churned out the same characters. And like I told myself, if there's ever a Dusty that they come out with, I would pick that up because, you know, there's an exception to a rule. Same thing with Sergeant Airborne. I could never find a beachhead to pick him up, and I didn't like the all green. Like some of these decisions that are being made, like weaponry in general, I get, like I said, geared towards children, but I don't think children even like green weaponry. I don't understand why they would ever make all of his accessories green like that. It still baffles me to this day that in 2021 we're getting green weaponry, and you know, I just don't understand it. It's just make the guns black and put a little paint shading on there, and that's all you have to do, really. It's just that simple, I think. Or even gray guns, like silver guns, like they got bling, and that, like, some of them will work as the design, but for the most part, it's not working. It's not these when they are selling, they are, but when they're not, they're peg warming hard. But I guess for the most part, the point I'm trying to make with this is that, and I'm not really like, I'm not angry about any of this. I'm just kind of like trying to point things out, and maybe this can help people understand why this line is drowning. Hasbro just can't figure out what to do with this license, and I think it's gonna take them maybe possibly selling the license to someone else that cares more for us, as collectors, to finally get the product that we always wanted. So like I said, just trying to give a perspective, and I think in this toy world, it's okay to have a 3 3/4 inch line mixed with a 6-inch line. You can have both. The yin and the yang can coexist. You know, it's the yin to the yang. Excuse me, is what I meant to say. But they can coexist. They can exist on a shelf together. And as far as money wise goes, you would think that Hasbro would want to make more money, and I'm sure they do. But their production numbers are very low, and their distribution is harsh. The scalpers don't help, but the scalpers are always going to be around. Like, you're not going to get rid of scalpers. Even I think it's pretty funny that I think it's cool. It's a cool thing to do, to try and drowned out the scalpers as far as what Bobby Val is doing with the Valaverse stuff and Action Force stuff. Like, on his website, what was it? He sold a weapons pack. It was like a prototype weapons pack or something. It was called like Shadow Guardian or Shadow Guard prototype weapons pack. And it was all the weapons, most of the weapons, I want to say, for the Action Force figures that are coming out. And it says, and there's a disclaimer that says it's one per customer. Don't be greedy. If we find anyone who's scalping these, they will be taken. Their information will be written down, and they'll be blacklisted basically from purchasing any more figures. So it's like, that's great and all, but, and I understand the thought process there, and that probably makes a lot of people happy, but it's not like they're the FBI and they can just figure out who's selling what on eBay. You know, they can't go into people's accounts and know their names and addresses and know how they got them. I mean, if someone sells something on eBay to another person that's second hand, like, how would they know who sold what to who? Like, I just don't, like, scalping is gonna exist. It's a harsh reality, and it sucks, but, and I trust me, if I could abolish it, I would. If there was a way that, you know, and there is a way that eBay and Amazon and all that those websites could throttle that shit, but I feel like it's gonna exist. People are gonna naturally want to pay the regular price or lower, and want to sell it for more than 100% profit. You know, that's just what happens. Like, double the price, triple the price. You know, it's quadruple the price. Excuse me. People are, you know, most people are selfish. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's a harsh reality, but that's the way it is. Most people are selfish and only care about themselves. It's almost like human nature. I try not to be that. I don't think I'm a selfish person. I think I like to think that I do well giving back, and I'm going off on a tangent here, so I apologize, but I don't mean to sound all kumbaya, but, you know, these are realities within toy collecting, and toy collecting has become harder and harder and harder. Some people have to stand outside of a Target until from 6 a.m. to the store opens to get into line just to purchase a figure now. Like, I don't ever remember doing that as a kid, but then again, there I go, trying to compare the 80s and 90s to now. It's just simply not the same time, I guess. But, and store buying is dying. Like, it's pretty much dying at this point. I'm just waiting for the day where they announce that, oh, you know, there's no more storefronts and blah blah blah, and we're not going to have a toy section anymore. That's going away next. And I don't know. We're in the age of the pre-order. We've been in the age of the pre-order, excuse me, but we're really in the age of the pre-order now, because as a collector, if you don't pre-order it, you're not getting it. So you got to get your pre-orders in, or you are not getting it. But the bots also don't help. I mean, it's like bot apocalypse out there for online collectors. So it's a tough, man. It's a tough pill to swallow. A lot of this stuff, it's frustrating. But as far as the toy line goes, you know, like I said, there's some bright points. I think, like I said, Destro. I think I've only seen like one set for the Baroness, but I was like, I'm not really feeling that figure at all. I was not feeling that figure one bit. But I think it's there's other bright points. Like I said, Destro. I think Gung Ho looks good. I think Duke, for the most part, looks pretty good, except for the bright reds and such on him. I've never seen a bright red watch in my life, but they redecoed Roadblock, so he looks a little bit better. But I'm just trying to give my honest opinion on a line that I pretty much don't collect for the most part. I can see the potential there, but I don't see the product delivering so far. Zartan looks good though. Maybe just try to step outside of that redoing bodies too. That's the kind of the last point I wanted to make about this line, was the reuse of bodies. Roadblock and Gung Ho almost, I'm pretty sure they use the exact same body. And if they don't, I think maybe the legs might be a little bit different. But I want to say for the most part that they pretty much are using the same body. At least that's what I've seen in some reviews. But except for like the head and the accessories and such. But so I can see that starting to get frustrating for collectors. I could also start seeing, Flint and I think Duke use similar body parts also, which is like, ooh boy, that's a kind of a no-no. Like, if you're gonna come out with a new line, man, you gotta really pump out a bunch of different sculpts and such. And if you look at the Black Series, they pump out a different sculpt almost every time. And I understand that not every line is going to have the same amount of budget. It's just not going to happen. And even G.I. Joe as a name brand isn't what it used to be. And it's not close to being what Star Wars is. But I would think that you would not be reusing molds this early into the line. I mean, you're 3 waves in, and you're already reusing bodies from wave 1. Like, that's not probably a good. And the next thing I really wanted to bring up was this whole distribution of the Cobra Island wave. I mean, most collectors know. I mean, it's not a secret that this wave was entirely too hard to find for a lot of collectors, and it's got to be really frustrating for people, especially fighting off the scalpers and such, that these figures were entirely too hard to find. And I guess enough people complained about the Target exclusives in the Hasbro Pulse live streams that they're starting to say that they probably are going to be re-releasing these figures. And I think Hasbro's probably elated. Think of it from their perspective. They've already got these molds, and they've already got the figures, and the molds are still good, and they don't really have to worry about making new molds for new figures and new characters. Oh, they want the old ones? Let's just re-release a bunch of old stuff. And I'm sure they're happy about that. I know for a fact that I've seen videos of collectors even saying that they've called Hasbro directly, saying that they want these figures re-released, and it's all more money. It's easy money for Hasbro just to re-release the figures. So it seems like Cobra Island's going to be re-released, and so I would not spend big bucks on and giving any scalpers any money right now, especially if these figures will be redone. So everyone will get a better chance to get a Beachhead or to get a Cobra Trooper or other such. I know they're re-releasing the Cobra Trooper. Well, they renamed him either the Cobra Trooper or Cobra Infantry, whatever. But this will give those collectors, a better chance to get those. So it's good for them. And lazy on Hasbro. Because really all they have to do is just re-release the same figures they've already redone. But this brings me into the next thing. I could sit here and complain about distribution all day, but I wanted to kind of touch on this Snake Eyes reveal and everything. I'm not a big Ninja fan. I was never a big fan of Ninja Force. I wasn't a big fan of anything outside of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Scarlet, to be honest with you. I just did not give a shit about Quick Kick is pretty cool. But other than that, really, when they started flooding the market with ninjas everywhere, it got to a point of ridiculousness, and I think that's what really turned me off mostly. It's because G.I. Joe's not about one character, and that's kind of, I think, what rubs me the wrong way with this whole Snake Eyes movie, is that G.I. Joe, it's a team, it's never about one person. Same thing with the X-Men. The X-Men was all about Wolverine, and the X-Men are a team. That's why they're called the X-Men, not Wolverine and the X-Men. It's not the Wolverines, it's the X-Men. So that's what always rubbed me the wrong way with the crappy, shitty X-Men movies, and now it seems like we're getting... I don't know what we're getting with this movie. I honestly don't know what to expect with this. I really don't know if I definitely don't plan on paying to see this movie. So I'm good on that. And I don't care about really any of the characters in the movie outside of maybe Baroness and Scarlet. I don't know. I think I'm just sick and tired of the Snake Eyes and the Storm Shadow stuff. And it's just been beaten over our heads to the nth degree. So, but speaking on the figures themselves, I don't know about this face sculpt right here, especially with Baroness. It's a little weird. She kind of looks dude-ish, and I don't know. I guess the bodysuit is okay, but it's still a little bland. Some of the other figures, like the eggshellness of Storm Shadow, is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Maybe they'll do a whiter or a brighter whiter variant, but I don't know. Personally, I don't need another Snake Eyes. I don't even need a Snake Eyes. I don't need really any of these figures. To be honest with you, I'm just giving you my personal opinion on the reveals. I don't think they're anything special. I think people might go after some of the maybe some of the weapons and such. But, outside of really wanting to be diving headfirst into this line, and, personally, hopefully, the movie is a success. I can't see how many people would actually go to see this, pay money to see this. Hasbro's really stuck on stupid with thinking that Snake Eyes should be in the forefront and should be the most important aspect of G.I. Joe, when the the guy doesn't say anything. He's not supposed to speak a line. So I mean, if you have him talking in the movie, I don't know how well that's going to work with fans. And then outside of that, I mean, even if you have casuals, how many casuals care about G.I. Joe live action movies? While it's good for the brand and probably good for action figures, you know, they're trying to do the Marvel Legends thing and just put it in the classified line, the movie figures in the classified line, and just have a movie wave. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to follow suit because it works with Marvel Legends. So that I can appreciate, that they're trying to do that and gain some recognition for the line, so it gains momentum. But am I going to buy any of these? Probably not. I'm good. Like, I'm really good. I definitely don't need Eggshell Storm Shadow. I don't know. Some of the face sculpts look a little weird to me. They look a little bland as far as detail goes. And I mean the unmasked ones that are unmasked. I don't know. It's just, I'm not really all that impressed with what you got here. I think they're kind of giving you an extra head, but other than that, I mean, he comes with a sword, and I mean, if it's Snake Eyes here, he comes with just a sword and 2 daggers. Like, that's a wrap. That's it. Like, no guns at all. I mean, all right. Well, maybe it's based on just what the movie's based on, and I don't know if they're gonna, what lore they're following here with Snake Eyes, but I guess it's one of those things you just have to kind of wait and see. If it's, ends up being free down the road, I'll probably pick it up, or maybe I'll watch it on one of those, quote, free sites. But I don't know. The face sculpts look a little weird. I think I'm still maybe I'm in the minority with this. I don't know how much of a big deal it is for other people, but I still think that Snake Eyes should just be motherfucker should look like Darkman. I don't know. He shouldn't be looking like a model. Maybe that's just me. Regardless of whether he's Asian or white or blonde hair or blue-eyed or whatever the hell he's supposed to be, or what people think he should be. I mean, he's supposed to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, scarred-up face dude. But that's not what they're doing. They're doing baby face, pretty boy, Asian dude. And I'm like, he should be scarred up. Like, he should look like shit. And I guess they think, for the mainstream market, they gotta have someone that's good looking. So, whatever. Personally, I don't like it, but that's just me. I think you shouldn't surround the movie around a GQ dude. You should surround the movie around the actual character. And when you start taking away from the character itself, it's a failure. So, that's strike number 1 already against the movie for me. But the exclusives is the last thing I really wanted to talk about. Not too impressed with the movie figures at all. It's a complete pass, easy pass for me. It's easy to say pass to them. But the exclusives, I mean, we got 3 Cobra Commanders. We've got, 2 versions of Scarlet, 3 versions of Roadblock, and 2 versions of Duke now, and 2 versions of Destro. And I'm not even going to discuss Pimp Daddy Destro, because that was just an absolute waste that did not need to happen this early in the line. I think some of the selections with characters is a little odd. And the fact that they're pumping out doubles of characters this early in a line is really not a good sign to me. It just shows that they don't have faith in what they put out already. Some people might say, hey, they're trying harder to make fans happy because they didn't like the paint decos. But that, there's room to go back to that. You evolve as a line throughout the line. Like, there's going to be bumps and bruises, but you can always go back and do that at a later time. Like, look what the Black Series did. they went back and they did the archive figures. You can always go back and fix those later. You've already given them that. Don't start going back and redecoing stuff, because you're just essentially asking people to pay for the same thing that they already didn't really know if they wanted to pay for to begin with. So now you're asking them to go back and pay for it again to give them what they wanted? Oh boy, that's just, it doesn't make much sense to me. I get they're trying to maybe appeal to people and make them happy, but yeah, I don't know if I'd be doing that this early in the line. Giving us a weird Storm Shadow, the G.I. Joe Storm Shadow that nobody really wanted nor asked for. You should have just given people a regular Storm Shadow, or just based on the video game or whatever, or traditional Storm Shadow, whatever you wanted to do. I don't think it really made sense to do the G.I. Joe one. I don't even consider Storm Shadow a G.I. Joe, period. He's always been Cobra for me. That's just me, maybe. But yeah, that version, no thank you. And I'm pretty sure that's what the Ninja Force version. So I'm good on that. You guys can have that and keep it. Just doing multiples of characters that don't need multiples yet. I don't think you really needed two different Cobra Commanders, two different versions of it. I get the lighter blue one, the more regal looking one, is in the video game, and the darker one is more whatever you were deciding to do there. I don't know what you were deciding to do there. Should just went out with the regal one, I guess. The variants are, I just don't think you need variants right now. You want to give the line as much momentum as possible, and just, give them focus on the quality. I mean, you're not giving a Build-A-Figure in these figures, with these figures. You're just giving them accessories, and I feel like sometimes you're getting gypped with accessories with some of these figures. Like Scarlet doesn't really come with all that much, to warrant the $23 now for a figure. What essentially are we paying for? Roadblock just comes with his weird mini gun, breacher gun thing. I don't know. Maybe give people options. If you wanted to give them the futuristic weapons, also give them some modern weapons also. Or just step away from that video game altogether, because that video game sucks. I'm just going to be honest with you. It really sucks. It's bad. It's the drizzling shits. And I know you guys haven't heard me say that in a while. That's because I try to use that when it actually applies. And that video game is the drizzling shits, let me just say. Especially if you're paying $40 for it, don't pay that. But, I don't know. I just wanted to give my perspective on things and just let you guys know, just because I haven't talked G.I. Joe doesn't mean I still don't have a passion for it, because I always will. I think I just needed a long break from anything G.I. Joe. It was really starting to get annoying. The amount of bad shit that was just being released on top of it, on top of it, and on top of it, and on top of it, over and over again, consistently. And then the constant struggles with Hasbro's distribution and Target and Walmart screwing up. So I just wanted to give my perspective, and I know this is a longer video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please be civil. If I have to dish out any spankings, I don't want to have to do that, but I will lay down the hammer if I have to. So be civil in the comments. We're all adults. Let's act like it in the comments. And I'm not speaking to my subs. I'm speaking to new people that happen to find this video. Be cordial. Act accordingly. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the flip side.